Welcome back, everybody, as we discuss day 8 of my Read a Book Every Day challenge for October 2025. Yesterday's read was My Big Fat Vampire Wedding, which I keep calling my Big Fat Fake Vampire Wedding, but there is no fake in the title. I need to remember that. By Jessica Gadziala. Now, this is a recent release from Avon, and the premise is that the main character, Pandora, is a vampire who needs to marry before her 125th birthday in order to secure her inheritance. She is desperate to get her hands on her inheritance so that she can move out of her parents' beautiful, beautiful London home and start her own bookshop. Babe, I get it. I get it. We all want our own little cozy bookshop. So she decides to fake an engagement with local cute boy Victor. This seems like a pretty solid premise. It's giving all the nice Halloween-y kind of vibes. And I'm a fan of a paranormal romance. We do get on-page spice, which you know I was in the mood for. So how do you think I rated this book? I'm gonna be honest, it's gonna get a 3.5, maybe a 4 from me, just because there were a few things about this book that just kind of left the whole thing feeling a little off-kilter to me. The vibes weren't vibing. Although there were certain aesthetic choices that I did really like, and some of the characters I enjoyed way more than I thought I would. So let's delve into my big fake fat vampire wedding, whatever it's called, discuss what I liked, discuss what I didn't like, and then talk about where we're going next with the Read a Book Everyday Challenge. First of all, things I liked. As a London gal myself, I do think you got the London vibes and aesthetic pretty down pat in this. It wasn't overdone. It wasn't cliche. It somehow simultaneously managed to give moody and grey, but also light, with some real levity when Pandora and Victor go to a particular park as they're following Pandora's younger brother Dante. That scene I really liked. I think the aesthetic was all working very, very well there. I got the look and the feel, and I liked what I got. I liked Pandora's pet raven. I thought he was really cool. There were a lot of literary allusions there, lots of claiming to have inspired this and that. I enjoyed the allusions to the raven. If you haven't seen The Fall of House Usher, you should definitely go watch The Fall of House Usher. And I guess I liked Pandora and Victor together. It might actually just be easier to move on to things that I didn't love. Wait, I did really like some of Pandora's family. Ravenna, honestly, absolutely down pat for that woman. I loved her as a character, but she was pretty much the only one in Pandora's family who I was like, I'm vibing with this lady. She a little bit weird. Massive props. But yeah, everything else just kind of felt meh. This is me feeling particularly harsh, but I really, really like paranormal romance. And the main problem this book came up against was that I was trying to figure out where the plot was going to go. You know, when you read a lot of a particular kind of book, you know what you're looking for. You're trying to make connections. You're like, okay, which of the many well-woven paths are we treading today? And that led me to pick up on a couple of things, connect some dots that obviously weren't meant to be connected. And I had mapped out a potential plot for this book that I was actually really, really excited to read. And it was not the plot of this book. Oh, I'm definitely going to have to explain that. Basically, my main problem with this book stemmed from the fact that Victor was always described as kind of awkward and standoffish. And when you met his parents, his family, they were like another level of weird and standoffish and very like beige, grey, not meant to stand out. And every time Victor touches Pandora, because you're following Pandora's POV, it's described as like lightning bolts and zaps and that she's feeling good. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know what's going to happen. It did not happen. I was convinced, especially at the point partway through this book when they're having their bachelor and bachelorette parties and we discover that synthetic blood is now a new thing out on the market, that we were going to find out that Victor was not, in fact, human, and that Victor was Frankenstein's monster, and that his parents had made him, and they were the creators of synthetic blood, and he was full of synthetic blood, and I was absolutely convinced that she was going to bite him at some point and discover that he wasn't human. And we even got a pre-wedding spicy scene where I was like, bite him and find out he's not human. Like, let this be such a cool reveal, and that they've both been hiding stuff from each other. Like, she's been going through all this effort to make it seem like she's not a vampire and that her family aren't vampires. And then you're going to turn out that he is this, like, on the DL PhD student studying vampire literature, but it's because he's looking at monsters in literature because he himself is a literal secret monster and there's no others of his kind, and he loves the fact that, you know, vampires are a consistent element in literatures across cultures. And, you know, he then gets a sense of belonging and connection with all the freaky weirdos in Pandora's family. Finally, he's not alone. And that he's been lying to her about the exact same thing she's kind of been lying to him about. And it's like really, really cute. And they're like, we're both faking it. Yeah, none of that happened. There was no grand reveal. Victor was just normal human guy, upset that she lied to him. All of the shenanigans kind of then didn't end up paying off. Like, it could have been so cute. Sorry, I'm really hung up on this potential plot that I've made up myself for the book. But it could have been really funny then if neither of them told their families. And so for the rest of the time, they both just get to laugh at the fact that everyone is jumping through hoops and being really silly. You know, like they could be the only ones in on the joke and it would have been all quite sweet. This narrative of, yes, everybody has secrets and we shouldn't be sharing other people's secrets, but we know each other's truths. But yeah, we didn't get any of that. Pandora's mum kind of objects to her wanting to marry a human because, I don't know, some kind of allegory for racism. That all felt very kind of weird and hypocritical from someone who was a different monster type to her husband and the rest of her family. I was a bit like, babe, why? And then they tried to explain it by being like, she's a succubus. She could tell that they weren't in, like, love. But they were both attracted to each other from the beginning. They both had massive crushes. Spoiler alert, by the way. I'm just going to spoil this book, right? So attraction would have been there from the get-go. So why did Ophelia have a problem? I don't get it. I did quite enjoy the Ophelia and Lucian, so Pandora's parents, giving Gomez and Morticia Addams vibes. That I really, really loved. Every scene that I saw the two of them in, I did like that. I just didn't like Ophelia's relationship with Pandora. I much preferred Ravenna's relationship with Pandora. The whole family setup ended up being a bit of a mess. Like, I understand we wanted eclectic mix. We wanted the stakes rising with more and more family members arriving now that this wedding is imminently happening, but it kind of lost the plot. Her cousin not liking her and wanting to stir the pot. Nothing came of that. Like, that felt very wasted. Elias as this potential other love interest coming into the mix. Like, that, I feel, also just kind of a waste. Like, I understand he and Pandora's best friend, Lucy, who is actually a werewolf, having their little back and forth spats. It's obviously setting up for a next book. I just didn't really buy any of it. None of it had any bite. The competitive nature, you know, I've seen that done so well in other books, and in this one it was just a bit like, oh, okay, why have we started this? And then they make a point of discussing, vampires, werewolves, they've always hated each other, but Pandora and Lucy are the exception. And initially everyone's like, oh, you want Lucy to be your maid of honor, oh, she's a werewolf. Then we all get over it very, very fast. It's like, it obviously didn't matter at all. So it wasn't even following its own thread of logic in regards to the speciesism. Like, we chose when and when we didn't care about stuff, and that kind of bothered me. All in all, the whole paranormal element of this book felt very woolly and underdeveloped. I understand trying to keep things simple, right? Let's keep the story going. Let's not get bogged down. But, you know, let's weave some threads together that make a cohesive picture. There was way more information in this about the coffee shop the girls worked in than anything to do with the supernatural. All of a sudden we've got magic amulets, witches, succubi, vampire, and yet I don't feel like I really understood a lot of anything very well. We just glossed over. Could have done with one or two little solid points and then run ahead, but no, it was just all a little bit too murky. I also feel like we had a lot going on with Pandora's brother Dante, and it just seemed a bit distracting. Like, it didn't need to be as distracting a plot point as it was. Like, Dante wants to be living a kind of ish human life. Why wanted to be a lifeguard? I guess that kind of linked into this childhood anecdote about him liking toads on the pond. But that was just the setup so he could make magic sunscreen that Pandora could then get to use when she goes on a pre-wedding trip to Morocco, organised by her family to try and prove how incompatible she is with this human she's trying to marry. But everyone got over it. Yeah, actually, I think some things in this book bugged me more than I realised they bugged me. Now that I'm talking about it, I just keep finding it's falling apart at the seams. Anything other than this super superficial, quick sweep across the top level of this book finds you in very, very murky water. Because it's all just very ephemeral, very loose, very poorly structured. And it really didn't need to be. Like, we didn't need to go complex. We just needed solid. And yeah, this book didn't have that. I'm probably really getting him in a twist because in my head, I'd come up with, like, a really, really cool thing and then it didn't happen. And I was like, damn it. God damn it, why do I do this? So yeah, I'm my own worst enemy. It's cute, it's fine. If you're not like a connoisseur of paranormal romances, you're probably going to read this and enjoy it. Like, if this is the only time ever you dip your toes into paranormal romance because we're getting close to Halloween, then it's going to be vibesy, it's aesthetic, it's going to be cute. There are like 2 or 3 spicy scenes that, unless you read plenty of spice and have a real palate for it, are probably going to titillate you. I read them and was like, okay. This kind of vanilla. This is fine, but I'm not getting anything else from the story. It would have been nice for the spice to have some kick. So all in all, it sounds like quite a negative review. Like, I didn't hate it. It wasn't an unpleasant reading experience. I was chilling and reading this in my bubble bath, having a grand old time. It was easy. And to be fair, that's absolutely fine at this point. But it's not one I'm going to hold up and be like, guys, you've got to get a hold of this. This is fantastic. So, in that vein, I've decided my next book is going to be the new Jenna Levine, Road Trip with Vampire. Just because I like Jenna. So far, her books in this series have always been really fun. They're totally not serious at all. I want some light, I want some levity, and that I feel is a solid bet. If Jenna lets me down, I'll be disappointed because I feel like I know what I'm getting into with her. This is the first book of Jessica's I've ever read, and Athena's book was the first of Athena's I've ever read, and Heather's was the first book of Heather's I'd ever read. I feel like my good authors are good authors for a reason, you know? Let's just tread a few more known paths, because even though I felt like genre-wise and focus-wise and aesthetic-wise, this would be a safe bet, it ended up just kind of being okay. That's it. That's the rating this is getting. It was okay. It wasn't good. And the level above that is great. This one's down at okay. For me, you might read it and enjoy it. I'm just saying, your time is precious. And there may be other vampire, Halloween-y, paranormal romances I would recommend over this. So that's where we are, and that's what we're doing next. Consider yourselves fully kept abreast with my read a book everyday challenge plans. Hopefully this hasn't felt like too much of a Debbie Downer. I just say, like, I'm not hard pressed by this book. This book hasn't offended me, it hasn't upset me, it was just okay. And honestly, that's fine. With the way I read books so fast, like, I'm not gonna go, oh, what a waste. You know, oh, those are hours I'm never gonna get back. This was okay. You know what, it's when we go down below okay that I start taking a little bit of umbrage, but even then I won't take as much umbrage as you guys would, because it takes you guys longer to read books, and thus spending like a couple of days reading a bad book must really suck. I don't know what that feels like. I don't spend days reading bad books. I only need to spend a few hours and then I move on. So there we go. That's kind of my review for my big fat vampire wedding. It was okay. Hope you found this video enjoyable. I feel like the energy's different. Like, I think you can feel I'm less down for sure, which makes shrugging things like this off that little bit easier. So what I'll do is I'll love you and leave you and see you again tomorrow. And let you know what I thought of the new Jenna Levine, hey? If you haven't already, please give this video a like. And if at this point you don't follow my channel, what are you playing at? Follow that account. I don't make any money doing this yet. And make sure you tune in tomorrow to see how the challenge continues. I'll see you later, alligators. Goodbye for now.